Welcome to another session of Stelmo's Rants and Raves. I'm Stelmo. Let's just jump right in. So, the news is out. We've done it. Everything is just better than normal. The economy's Cadillacing on all 12 cylinders and more. I mean, this is better than anyone could ever imagine. and the headline reads, U.S. payrolls rise by 172,000 in May, topping expectations. Yes, they always do, and then the stock market will go up because they're going to be saying happy days are here again. There are more jobs out there than Carter has liver pills. But unfortunately, and I know I repeat myself often, but I'm going to say this again. So many, I guess now we can say decades ago, James Carville came out and said, it's the economy, stupid. And yeah, it is the economy. And you can come up here with all the numbers you want. This could read U.S. payrolls rise by 10 billion in May. It doesn't matter. People are out there living it, and they know that this is nonsense. Now, let's just go back and walk through the history here. Every month throughout the Biden administration, I would hear all the Republican pundits out there point out how when the BLS numbers came out, they were subject to numerous revisions and they would all be almost exclusively revised downward, and which ultimately proved that things were not as rosy as the first picture. And, I cringed when Donald Trump, early in his third term here, took praise for the BLS numbers. And I was angered because all of these Republican pundits who always talked about how the numbers were revised downward when Biden was in, just seemed to have lost their voice when it came to the president. And so what happened, the president was surprised when they were ultimately revised downward. And he was embarrassed, and he should have been, but somebody should have told him. Besant, Lutnick, who knows exactly who, but someone in that administration should have said, well, these are going to get revised downwards. So Donald Trump doesn't like being embarrassed, so he fired the person at BLS. And I don't know if they want us to believe that anything has really changed over there, because it has not. And this number will get revised downwards significantly as time goes on. But what it does is it creates this phony picture. And it causes stocks to go up. And then everyone says, well, the stock market's going up. We're in boom times. Things are absolutely going so well out there, it isn't even funny. And really, it couldn't be any further from the truth. This economy right now is in free fall. And the problem is, just like these BLS numbers are incorrect, so are the numbers that they put out for the rate of inflation. Inflation, anybody who goes shopping out there knows that the rate of inflation is much higher than they claim it to be. And therein lies the problem, because more and more and more people are unable to stretch their dollars any further. And so they have to start checking things off of their shopping list. And I don't see this playing out well at all. And the problem is, and the reason why it's not going to play out well is because what's the problem? The problem is our deficit spending. We have to get our budget under control, and we have to start making a reasonable attempt to start paring down the debt we own. If we don't do that, it's only going to get worse. And you know what? The rise of the decline is going to become faster and faster. And at some point in time, it's going to be hard for all of these people to come out there and with a straight face say, oh, yeah, the economy's doing great. We've created more jobs than Carter has liver pills. They haven't. They really haven't. You know, I saw an article the other day. It said that this summer is going to be the worst summer for students getting summer jobs since they started keeping records of the matter. Yeah. And that's because there's plenty of adults out there. And a lot of these adults, they may be working, but they're just not making enough money. So they need one or two side hustles. And these people eventually are going to reach the breaking point. Their bodies are not going to be able to sustain the pressure that's put on it from working all these exorbitant hours, and they're only doing it to try to get them and their families through. And I don't see anybody really addressing this problem. Yeah, the Democrats have joined the bandwagon talking about affordability, but you know, with their checkered past, I mean, they have nothing to brag about. They're certainly complicit in this problem today. And but I know you always gotta blame the other party, and so it's just, and you know, it just never ceases to amaze me when I watch this market, because there really is no rational way that anyone can support the current levels of most of the prices of this stock. Granted, there are a few issues out there that are still a decent buy, but they're far and few in between. And but you have to remember, the stock market is not the economy. And if a lot of people want to keep believing that because we're creating all these invisible jobs, well, then let them believe that. But they're going to come crashing into the hard reality at some point in time. And and let me give you this line. America's labor market delivered another surprise in May as employers added far more jobs than expected, giving the Federal Reserve another reason to hold off cutting interest rates. Well, yeah, they can hold off. You know, actually, I think it's going to become more and more evident that we are between a rock and a hard place. You know, on one hand, interest rates should be coming down because the economy's not doing well. But because of inflation, and keep in mind, inflation is traditionally defined as an increase in the money supply. And so because we always, each and every month, we keep spending tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars more than we have. We keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. You know, I think the interest that we pay now is somewhere around $1.5 trillion a year. And everyone agrees this is unsustainable. It's not going to last. But when is it going to end? Well, you know, nobody knows for certain, other than more and more people are going to become not just poor, but they're going to be like hitting the bottom of the barrel. And so what are the options for these people? Well, sadly, one of the options is they're going to fall prey to this everything's free from the nearest socialist candidate. So, you know, Mondami winning in New York is just the start of it. You know, most cities have a large number of poor people. And you can empathize with these people. And unfortunately, because the prices of so much is going up, these people are hit the hardest. And so, you know, maybe even they know deep down that socialism's not the answer. Let me remind everyone of something. And I know I've said this before, and it's a quote worth repeating many times over, and it's attributed to the late Baroness Margaret Thatcher, a bulldog of a prime minister of the United Kingdom in ages gone by. And she said the problem with socialism is sooner or later you run out of other people's money to spend. Well, conversely, if you look at this the way it always pans out, the first few years are great because they have the rich to attack and take their money from and distribute it amongst the working poor. So the poor are going to be happy. And for a long time, everyone's going to be happy. And people are going to see this in jurisdictions that don't have a loony leftist socialist, and they're going to want the loony leftist socialist. But as soon as that money runs out, it's going to turn around, and they're not going to like where they put themselves. So, I don't know what to say, but it'll be interesting. I have some of the YouTubers that I listen to on a fairly regular basis, and I'm sure most of them tonight are going to be saying that they don't buy this number for at all. The government could try to hide reality, but whenever it concerns the economy, people are a few steps ahead of them. And this is a bad situation. I think it's only going to get worse. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I can come back on here at some point and say, you know what, boy, did I have that wrong. I don't think that's the case, though. And with that, I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe in this crazy world we live in. Bye-bye.